of all, I want to thank you all for coming. I know not many people are very open to the idea of vegetarianism. So through this presentation, I would really like you to remember the quote from Albert Einstein. The quote is, "Until we can extend our compassion to all living things, we cannot find peace." And for those of you who didn't know, Albert Einstein was a vegetarian. There are 5 types of vegetarians: vegans who don't eat any meat, dairy products, or anything that comes from animals at all. Lacto-vegetarians, which eat no meat, poultry, fish, or eggs, but they do eat milk and dairy products. Then we got ovo-vegetarians, which eat no meat, poultry, or fish, or dairy, but they do eat eggs. Partial vegetarians avoid all meat, but they do eat white meat such as fish and chicken. And then lacto-vegetarians, which is what I am. I don't eat any meat, but I do eat dairy and eggs. I'd like to talk to you guys about the China study. The China study was done by Professor Campbell at the Oxford University. This was a couple years ago, but it spanned over 20 years in China. And what they did is they conducted a study. They went to different locations throughout China based on what they were eating. The more protein they found in the body, they found that they actually conducted more cases of diseases such as breast cancer and prostate cancer and bone cancer. And all these diseases and type 2 diabetes they found was because of the animal protein that they were putting into the body. They also found that animal protein increases high blood cholesterol, whereas when you eat proteins such as soy, it lowers your cholesterol. It made it easier by doing it through China because of the isolated areas. Because of the way that they live, they could only do some areas based off completely animal protein, which in areas like that, it was more likely for them to have diseases such as type 2 diabetes and cancer, whereas when they based it off of animal protein, or not animal protein, I'm sorry, when they based it off of plant protein, it showed that the cholesterol was lower, they were less likely to get diseases. And part of the reason that this is so beneficial is because Dr. Campbell actually spent years trying to show that animal protein is the main efficient source of protein. That's what you need and it's essential to your diet. Whereas when he went through and he did this study, he found out that it's actually the plant protein that's most beneficial. These are our benefits, we just went through that. Next is based off the environment. Fossil fuels, according to the Cornell ecologist David Palmer, animal protein demands tremendous amounts of, and as you should see here, soy protein only does 1%, whereas ISU, which in our economy we use most places based off of meat, is 20%. Next, we have water usage. I have a quote from Ed Aries. He is a professor and he writes for the World Watch Institute around the world. And the quote is, "Around the world, as more water is diverted to raising pigs and chickens instead of producing crops for direct consumption, millions of wells are going to dry in India, China, North America, and the US are all running low on fresh water today, pumping more from the aquifers so the rain can replenish." As most of you know, they say that our next world war isn't going to be about oil, our next world war is going to be about water. And part of that fact is because most of our water is going toward the animals. 1 pound of beef is 441 gallons. 1 pound of beef, that's less than a cow. And then for 1 pound of wheat, it's only 14 gallons. The next is the huge flow of animal waste. I wanted to talk about this because not many people know. One of the questions people ask is, where does all this waste go? It goes into your water supply. Thousands of factory farm foods threaten the animals and America's water supply by putting in animal waste, viruses, and parasites. The U.S. livestock production, perhaps 900 million tons of waste annually. That's 3 tons. That's like 2 Toyota Priuses. Just the beef Cows can produce 14.6 tons annually. That's 10 cars. And then Iowa's hog, that's just in Iowa. This doesn't include the other states in America. They produce alone 1,600 tons, and that's between the 2,000 different farms. And all of that is up to 11.4 cars. I have factory farming, so I wanted to show you guys this, but I'm going to warn you ahead of time. It is pretty graphic, but it's the cleanest that I can find, so here you go. What people don't know is that animal cruelty is very common. They do have laws against it, but none of it affects feeding animals. Animals we use for food are put into intense amounts of cruelty. Most animals with fur, such as pigs, cows, even chickens, and goats, if they don't die during processing, then they're dumped into boiling water and boiled alive. Workers beat pigs with metal rods, as you'd see here, and put pins into their eyes just because they can. If an animal is sick, they don't get medical attention at all. And day-old calves are fed milk. Well, they're not fed milk, they're fed milk substitutes. Some of these substitutes even include cow blood. Due to genetic modification, 90% of chickens can't walk. They can't move at all. And they're stuck into these tiny crates with more than 50 of them in there. Some of them can't even sit down. And dairy cows, those are the worst. First, they're raped with a metal rod, or sometimes by hand. And then, after they're impregnated, they get their babies taken away from them. And the calves, the females, go right into the dairy production where the same thing that happened to their mothers is going to happen to them. And the males, they're sold for veal. For those of you who don't know what veal is baby cow. Some of them don't even live up to 2 or 3 weeks old. The conditions in factory farming are horrible. As you saw in the video, the animals aren't treated with respect. There are laws, but it doesn't mean that people follow them. And all laws against factory farming don't apply to birds such as chickens or turkey. Animals aren't treated right. And I don't know about you guys, but that really upsets me. Especially because we can do this to them, but if anything happened to our dogs or our cats, it would be the end of the conversation, and we would be completely horrified. But yet we do the same things to these animals. What's the difference? One is food and one's not. Now, some of you may think, well, I want to do this, but I can't because I'm an athlete. If my PowerPoint is working, there we go. Ricky Williams, he plays for the NFL Dolphins. He's a vegetarian. Tank Aaron, he played for the Milwaukee Brewers. Through his entire time, he was vegan. Robert Parrish, NBA. Mike Tyson, he's a boxer. Dave Scott, he's a 6-time Ironman world champion. For those of you who know, though, that's a marathon. It means you're running, swimming, jumping, riding your bike, non-stop. And he's won it 6 times, and all the entire time he was a vegan. Vegan, like I said earlier, not only do they not eat meat, but they don't eat dairy or eggs either. Carl Lewis, track and field, won the Olympic gold in 1991. Matt Gazing, he's a martial arts fighter here. And right now he holds the belt. Hannah Tenner is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist and the X Games winner of, I think it's like 2001. And Tony Horton, for those of you who don't know, he was the one who created P90X. All of these people, as you can see, they're ripped, they're healthy, and they're the people that you stand and look up to. But you don't look up to their dietary habits because it is not in your nature to, because that's not how you were raised. If they could do it, then so can you. As I said earlier, animals are aren't treated right, it hurts your health tremendously. They've actually shown through the Cornell-Oxford study, the China study, they've shown that it can completely turn around your diet. People with cancer, after they've gone on a vegan diet, they don't have cancer anymore, it's gone away. Their cholesterol is lower, their diabetes goes away. Their diet completely changes how you eat. And how you eat changes your health. And lastly, the environment, as I said before. The environment is taking a huge toll based off of factory farming. If this didn't do anything for you, well, I just hope that now it shows that you really do, there is something in the world, that these things are going on right under our noses. If it did do something for you, well, I'm really glad that I helped you. I'm Beth, and I'm a vegetarian.